Hey everybody, welcome back to my budgeting videos. I have sort of an unexpected financial update and I'm not sure the best way to utilize the money. So I'm gonna go through the different options that I've come up with, sort of try to talk it out and see if I can't figure out what's the smartest way to use it. So let me give you like a little bit of backstory first. I was in a car accident. It was not my fault. The other person fell asleep at the wheel and I got injured. So I've been dealing with a concussion and some neck injuries and things like that and doing a lot of physio. At the beginning, I had quite a lot of missed work, as well as I had just started a part-time job. So I missed a lot of work at my full-time job and I had just started a part-time job and I couldn't work at the job at all. I was completely incapable of being in that work environment because of my concussion. And so they were really great and they kind of held my spot for over half a year, but I was feeling really guilty that they weren't hiring anybody to replace me, so they're working short-staffed. It was like a smaller office type place, so the difference of one employee is like really felt. And I hit a point where I'm like, I don't know that I'm ever going to be able to go back and do that job, and I don't think that they should hold it for me anymore. So I gave in my notice, and during all of this time, where I live in BC, the only insurance company for car stuff, you have to go through ICBC. They have a total monopoly on it and it's ridiculous. So I've been dealing with ICBC and they do like lost wages if you can't work at one or more of your jobs due to like the car accident. But because I had only just started the job and only worked like, I think 3 shifts, even though I had a projected schedule and I knew how much I would be working, they were really putting up roadblocks to figuring out lost wages, because they usually calculate your lost wages based on your previous X number of months earnings. But of course I didn't have that because I had just started the job. And so I just kept being like, well, I don't know what you want me to do about like that. Like I couldn't control the fact that this person decided to drive when exhausted and hit my car on the highway after I'd only had 3 shifts, like none of this is my fault. So they just really dragged their heels on it. And then I also had a lot of missed shifts from my full-time job because of the concussion and just the pain I was in general. And then with that, it was like a separate lost wage claim. Like they were going to be doing them as 2 separate things, in theory, to speed up the lost claim for like the part-time job. Sorry, I don't know how to explain this very well, because like you could either have them both go and be processed together or have them be processed separately. And so I suggested separately, since I knew I wasn't going back at that point to the part-time job, so why not just get that one handled and then we'll deal with the wage loss stuff for the full-time job in whatever time frame they require, because ICPC just makes their own rules and you have to abide by them. I am very bitter towards ICPC, so bear with me here. I don't talk about them kindly. They've been absolutely horrible through this entire experience. Anyways, I randomly got a check in the mail on Friday, so that was yesterday, for $3,775.22. which is amazing. I don't know though if that is for lost wages for the part-time job, the full-time job, or both. Like the little piece of paper that comes with it to explain uses like internal coding for the pay. So I don't know what this is. I don't know if this is like for one of them and I still have another lost wage check coming at some other time, or if like this is it, it's done and dusted, this is all that they're going to be paying me out ever. I don't know. I'm going to have to email my adjuster, who is a horrific human being to have to deal with, and ask her. So I'm not looking forward to that. But in the meantime, I have this money. So I have deposited it via my bank app only today, and it takes anywhere from 3 to 5 business days for a check to clear into my bank. Like that's what their policy is. So I mean, like part of it can be accessible before the 5 business day cutoff, but I'm just going to wait until basically next payday, because that'll be 5 business days. By that point it should all be accessible, and then that's when it'll actually get moved around. But this is me trying to figure out the best way to move it around, because I don't want to, it's not often I come into big chunks of money, and when I do, it worries me, to be honest, because I'm not financially literate and I don't know the smartest decision. I know enough to know that I don't know enough, but I don't know where to learn more so that when something like this happens, I just automatically know the smartest way to use the money and not end up making mistakes. I don't know. Where do you learn that stuff? I have no idea. So, let's try to figure out. So my ICBC check for lost wages is $3,775.22. So I have come up with 4 different scenarios for how to utilize this money. So option number 1 is that all of it goes on to debt repayment, so it would all go on to my line of credit. That was my automatic first thing that I wanted to do with it, is make a huge lump sum payment onto the line of credit. Option 2 is to split it so that $3,000 goes onto the line of credit, and then the $775.22 goes to living expenses. And let me explain what I mean by that, because I'm going to be using that phrase for the rest of this video. It's sort of, because I don't have my part-time job, I do not make enough money even when I work full-time for an entire pay period and I make like my full paycheck. I do not make enough to cover my budget. I'm hoping once the line of credit is paid off and that huge amount that I'm putting towards it every month is gone, then it would be really tight, but I think I then would be being able to balance my own budget with like no extra money anywhere, but at least I would be able to do that. I'm still trying to find part-time jobs that I can do with my concussion. I'm thinking maybe like data entry from home, maybe. I don't know. I saw a job listing. I'm going to try to apply for that, but I really don't know. So right now I'm just doing all the calculations with me as one job, no secondary income. Although I mean, I do have my blog that I am trying to get like more traffic to, because it pays out in AdSense. So the more people that go and visit it, then the more AdSense I earn, and then the faster it pays out. But that's not reliable income. It's very haphazard and spotty, and you don't know when it's going to appear. So I can't rely on that, but it does happen now and then it's like a happy little yay extra money. But anyways, so living expenses, what I mean by that is having, say, the $775 sitting in my bank account, and just pulling from it to make up whatever difference I have in my budget that pay period. So the same way, oh, you know what, in my budgeting book, one second, because I did this last paycheck, my mom had given me some money and I had a buffer. And so I kept her money off to the side, like I deducted it out of my regular budget. So it was $1,000, and kind of moved it over to the side, didn't have it involved in the calculations of my budget at all, and was using the money specifically to fund my cash envelopes and my sinking funds, so that those expenses were not coming out of my regular budget, because I was pretty sure like if the buffer could cover those things, then I would be able to cover the rest of my budget with like my money. And I was able to. I was able to make my car payment, my NEO payment, my cell, pull out money for my rent, make 2 payments on the line of credit. So it sort of, I used that buffer money to cover a certain section of the budget. And then just with the idea of like, I will continue to pull from that buffer money to cover the cash envelopes and the sinking funds for as long as the buffer money lasts. So I'm thinking that's what I'm sort of referring to in a sense when I talk about the living expenses, either putting it off to the side the same way I did the buffer money and using it exclusively for covering the cash envelopes and the sinking funds, really sort of like as an easy way to track it in a sense, or having it in the budget as part of like this part, like as part of the regular calculations, and then just knowing that like it's in there and it's helping to make up a difference. And so as I'm calculating out all my stuff, I would have like a bigger amount left at the end of the budget. But instead of being like, wow, look at me, I'm doing so well, let's put an extra really big payment on the line of credit, purposely trying to keep that big buffer for as long as possible, because I'm only pulling from it as needed to make the budget work. Either way, it accomplishes the same thing. I'm pulling from that money in smaller amounts over a longer period of time to make my budget work. So when I talk about like putting money towards living expenses, That's what I'm talking about. Putting it into my biweekly budget to help make my budget actually work. So option number 3 is all of it used for living expenses. Now, the reason I thought this one is because I don't make enough money to balance my budget on my own without help from my mother or some kind of a buffer or something like that. And so if I put all of the money into being used bi-weekly when I'm calculating out my budget, then I could go back to making the minimum monthly payment every paycheck towards the line of credit, so pay it off with faster bi-weekly payments than what I'm able to do now, and balance out my budget, make it work without having to ask for help from my mom or pull money from long-term savings or anything, and use it for as long as I have to use it to make my budget work. I think it's not a bad option necessarily, but then once it's done, I'm kind of back into the same boat that I'm in now. So it's only a short-term fix. It's like a band-aid. It's not going to fix the problem that I have in general, which is too much debt, not enough income, and no way to quickly fix either of those problems. Option 4 is half to the line of credit and half to living expenses. I thought this one because I do want to make a large payment onto the line of credit, but also if I only split it in half to do that, then that gives me more to go towards living expenses over a longer period of time than if I just do like the $775. So these are the options that I came up with. My one that I wanted to do, that I was like, I think this is the smartest choice, is option number 2. $3,000 onto the line of credit, a payment that large. So right now, my current line of credit balance is, what am I looking at? $22,985.50, which is incredibly high. But remember, I started at $25,000, so it is getting smaller with a current monthly payment, or a monthly minimum payment, is $467.57. So if I put $3,000 onto the line of credit, brings it down to okay, 22985.50 minus 3,000. So it would bring it down to $19,985.50. And getting it under 20 grand, I want that. I want that so badly. Now, I don't know how to calculate out exactly what my minimum payment per month will change to as the balance on the line of credit goes down. I don't know how to do that math. So I don't know if maybe, like, I know that as the balance on the line of credit goes down, so does the monthly payment, but I don't know in what ratio. And I don't know why I feel this, but I feel like once it's under 20 grand, like it should make some larger drop down in the minimum monthly payment. It probably doesn't. I probably am making that up and I'm completely delusional, but I just feel like maybe there's threshold marks with debt where they're like, ooh, you got your debt over this amount on this card or, this line of credit or whatever. So we're going to like bump up your minimum monthly payment. I could just, well, actually I am just making that all up because I have no idea where it came from. It's just, to me, that makes logical sense. So part of me, as soon as I saw that it would be under 20 grand, I'm like, that's so good, so good. So I really want to do option number 2, $3,000 onto the line of credit, and then put the $775.22 towards living expenses for the length of time that it lasts, with the hope that now my minimum monthly payment will be lower and will mean that like the payments that I'm making onto the line of credit will be working farther, or like not farther, will be making more of an impact on the balance, because this would be made as a payment outside of like the regular budget, right? And so I have, where did I wrote it down over there, sorry. Kind of all over the place for where things are. So, so if I want to pay off my line of credit in 4 years, I need to pay $292.94 every pay period. And right now, that's kind of the best that I can do, and I'm struggling to be able to do that. But like I said, the minimum monthly payment is actually $467.57. So, you know, like once that's added up, I am making more than the minimum monthly payment overall for the month, so it is making a dent in the overall debt. But it's slow going, and that's fine. Like, I accept that I got myself into this level of debt, and I'm not quickly going to be able to get out of it. So the time that it takes is the time that it's going to take. I'm not trying to rush it, because I mean, yeah, I want to be done, clearly. But do you know what I mean? Like, I understand that, like, you got to pay the price. And the payment for me is a very long haul for getting this paid off. But anyways, what I'm trying to get at is that if I get the line of credit balance down to this $19,985.50, then my minimum payment goes down, which means that while I'm putting the $775 combined with the rest of my buffer from my mom into my budget to help cover expenses for things for however long that it lasts for, that means that the payments that I'm making are making a bigger dent in the actual balance of the line of credit, and sort of helping so that by the time I've run out of the money for the living expenses and mom's buffer, I'm hopefully like overall in a better financial situation, because I will have gotten the line of credit even farther down from the $19,985.50. And I think also I really want to make a really big payment onto it, and I have it in my head that like my prime focus in my budget right now, besides survival, is paying off this debt. And so when I get super focused on something like that, every extra little bit that I have is what I want to do, is put it onto the debt. So this is what I wanted to do. Now, I, you know, being a fully grown human who is somehow left unsupervised and allowed to make their own mistakes, didn't know what to do. So I called my mother. And I asked her for help. The poor woman, she gets me asking for help for so many things. But so I called her and I told her the options that I came up with and which one I thought was the best one, and asked her what her opinion was. And she actually came up with a different one. And she said, here, I'll write it down. Mom's option is to put $2,000 onto the line of credit, and then what would be the difference? 3,775 minus, and then use $1,775.22 to living expenses, with the idea that we both know I'm not bringing in enough money to cover my expenses. So this way the money put towards the living expenses would last longer, obviously, than if I just put over the $775, helping to make the budget balance over a longer period of time. But while still making like a large payment onto the line of credit, and that would hopefully bring down the monthly minimum payment. It would not get me below the $20,000. And I don't know, because I can understand her logic with that. I absolutely 100% get it, but I also really want to make the larger payment onto the line of credit. So now I'm not sure. Because I respect her decisions, I think I should probably go with hers, because I do get very narrow-minded in my thinking when I've decided like this is what I want my budget to be about. So right now, paying off the line of credit. So maybe my decision of putting the bulk of the money, the $3,000, onto the line of credit and only a small amount for the living expenses, is not the right one. Maybe I'm being too narrow-minded with this vision that I have of getting the line of credit paid off, because while I do understand it's going to take me years to do it, there is always that drive to do it fast, do it like go hard. Do you know what I mean? And some things you can't. Like, you only have so much money, and then once it's gone, you're just like right back into the same boat. My kind of strategy or loophole for kind of making those two meet somewhere in the middle is I have long-term savings. Not a lot, but I have some long-term savings, like 3,000 something. And like that's it. Like that's like my emergency fund, long-term savings, like they're all kind of just one thing right now, and that's all that I have. And I was thinking earlier, like in the week, maybe 2 weeks ago, something like that, like what if I pulled money from there to make a large payment on the line of credit with the idea of like get the balance down so the minimum payment goes down. Now I'm going to be able to make a large payment because of the check from the insurance company. So I'm sort of thinking if I do 2,000 from the check from my CBC and then 1,000 from my long-term savings / emergency fund, that would still have me doing the 3,000 onto the line of credit, which would get me down to below $20,000 balance, while still leaving this $1,775 and change for living expenses, which would mean I wouldn't have to ask my mom for help for a much longer amount of time. So I think I like that middle ground of still making the payment, but doing it from this check as well as from my money, and then being able to sort of help my mom in the sense of not needing to ask her for help for a longer amount of time. So I think that is what I'm going to do. Can you see? Yeah, you can still see. Okay, so my battle plan is 2,000 from ICBC to the line of credit, 1,000 from Wealthsimple long-term savings to the line of credit, and $1,775 for living expenses. So I'm pretty sure that this is what I'm going to do. I think it's sort of a nice mixture of mom's suggestion and the one that I really wanted. I know it is ultimately getting me what I wanted, which was paying the $3,000 and making the line of credit balance be under the 20,000. But it is, like 1,000 of it is coming from money that it has taken me a very long time to build up. So it's not going to be like an unpainful way of making that payment. But I think that's kind of important. I think if you just have money given to you, and admittedly, like, this is lost wages money. It's not like I didn't earn it. It's been a very painful year with like a lot of life disruptions. So it's not like this money is just sort of out of the blue, magical from a fairy. But it is like it's coming to me outside of sort of regular money. What's the word? Channels? Yeah, outside of like regular money channels for me. So it is sort of, it feels like a tax income or like a tax refund. You know how it's just like, yeah, it's your money and you earned it, but it almost feels like it's just like extra magical money because it came in a different way. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. But yeah, so I think this is what I'm going to do. I've talked it through. I like how I keep talking to you as if you're going to answer me in real time and I'm going to hear you. But, who's to say I'm not kind of hoping for that. But this is the strategy. Now, I can't actually do any of this movement with money. I deposited the check today. I think I might have already said this, so sorry if I'm repeating, but it takes 5 business days. So I'll be actually putting this into effect on Friday, which means I do have a full week to kind of ruminate on it and think and figure out if maybe there's a better decision to be made. I could, if I wanted to, pull out the money from Wealthsimple now because that takes 3 business days, and so make sure that I've got that in the account and ready to go for Friday when I'm making all of the other movements of money. And then, randomly, I went to the bottle depot to refund a whole bunch of like bottles and cans and stuff like that. And so I've earned a whopping $5.50. I know, I'm rich now. So that is going to go into a piggy bank that I have that holds money from my last year's birthday and Christmas presents. So I'm a December baby, so I get all my presents for an entire year for birthday and Christmas within 2 days of each other because I was born December 23rd. So I got birthday slash Christmas money and I was saving up for something. Well, I am saving up for something, so I have it sitting in a piggy bank. And so I add things like this, like if I do like bottle refund or things like that, I add it into the piggy bank because every little bit kind of helps. And then I also use Rakuten. I can't show you the check because it's got like all kinds of personal information on it, but I use Rakuten and I got like a refund from that. It's like when you have an app on your phone or on your computer, and when you do any online shopping, you go through the app and then you select whatever store that you want to be shopping at. So say Amazon, so you open the app, you select Amazon, it'll show you you're going to get a cash back of whatever percent, you tap on it, and then it just routes you right through to Amazon, and then you do your shopping like normal. Like you legit just do your shopping like normal and buy whatever it is that you were going to buy, and then it calculates out that, like, say it's like, sometimes it's only like 1% cash back, like it's not huge amounts or anything, but so you get 1% cash back. And so as long as you don't return the item, it sits in your account, and then they pay you out quarterly in checks. So I got a check for $9.21. I know, I'm super rich. But that is going to go onto my Visa, and I will explain that when I do my regular budgeting video. But yeah, random little bits of money here and there popping up this weekend. It's very strange, but I'm not mad at it. So what do you think? Do you think that this battle plan idea down here, like if you were having to make the decision, would this be the one that you would make? Would you pick one of the different options? Do you have a completely out of the ballpark option from what I have come up with that is brilliant that I just don't see? Because if you do, please share, please. I would love your brilliance. Yeah, I don't know. That's really all I got. I don't know how to end this one because it's sort of, I'm not actually putting it into action yet. I still have a week before I can touch anything. But this is the plan. If something changes, I will let you know. Otherwise, the next step towards debt-free living is using the insurance money. So thank you very much for sitting through all of my rambling and trying to figure out what to do with this check. I very much appreciate it. I hope you're staying safe out there. Have a really great day. I will talk to you in my next video. Bye.